any, we will be open for questions and answers if we can do so. Is Captain Turner on the line?
Good afternoon, Pastor and American citizen. I would like to preface the remarks with a comment that it has just been learned another crime has occurred in Tennessee this morning. And Lieutenant Commander Walter Fitzpatrick has been arrested. They broke down his door and they said he was resisting arrest. That terminology to me means they wanted to find a reason to use force on Lieutenant Commander Fitzpatrick. Are you aware of that, Pastor?
No, I'm not. This is news to me, but we shall go into prayer immediately for Lieutenant Colonel Walter Fitzpatrick. We will pray for him and other things that we need to do as well.
Okay. You know, it's been widely reported that our government no longer operates as a constitutional republic, but instead has become a corporation, and that we, the people, are unknowingly conducting our affairs in that environment. However, the fact remains that all those elected or appointed to conduct the affairs of state still swear an oath to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution, which consists of the Declaration, 7 articles, and 27 amendments. They recognize that as the supreme law of the land. Therefore, it stands to reason that we, the people, the originators of that contract, the Constitution, between us and those we hire for limited and/or conditional terms of employment under that contract, we have the greater responsibility to ensure compliance thereof and therewith. Now, several key provisions of that contract bring us to the how, why, and by what authority we reveal the summary and transcripts of the C.I.A. Columbia-Obama Sedition and Treason trial. They are as follows. Number 1, the requirements to make changes or amendments to the terms of that contract are well known, time-consuming, and laboriously detailed. They cannot be changed by the judiciary simply enacting new rules of procedures, nor by simply violating those terms and getting away with it for, say, 100+ years. There is no statute of limitations on violations of that contract, and their actions become null and void whenever the originators, we the people, deem it so. All complicit parties may also be charged with treason or misprision of treason. Number 2, the Fifth Amendment provides for a citizen's grand jury, and as Justice Antonin Scalia said in a 1992 ruling, quote, rooted in long centuries of Anglo-American history, the grand jury is mentioned in the Bill of Rights, but not in the body of the Constitution. It has not been textually assigned, therefore, to any of the branches described in the first 3 articles. It is a constitutional fixture in its own right. And this, in fact, the whole theory of its function is that it belongs to no branch of the institutional government, serving as kind of a buffer or referee between the government and the people, end quote. History shows that the citizens' grand jury was a common occurrence in the early days of our constitutional republic and was used as a means to correct the crimes of corrupt public officials. That right and duty of the people continues to this day. Number 3, the 9th and 10th Amendments retain the rights and powers with the people. Hence, the rights and powers of the people to form citizens' trial courts to act on presentments or indictments of citizen grand juries exists to this day. And 4th, the Constitution provides for the specific requirements of the office of President and Commander-in-Chief. A, Article 2, Section 1 says that only a natural-born citizen shall be eligible to the office of President. B, Article 1, Section 8 says that Congress, under the authority granted by the people, has the power to enforce offenses against the law of nations. And C, the law of nations says that a natural-born citizen is one who is born in the country of parents, both of whom are citizens of that country. Now, based on the understanding that with the privilege and honor of knowing of, swearing to, and living under our Constitution, comes the responsibility and duty of defending, maintaining, and adhering to it. A duly formed constitutional citizens court trial was held in Harlem, New York at the Atla Church Sanctuary Courtroom on May 14th through 18th of this year. That trial, known as the CIA Columbia Obama Sedition and Treason trial, concluded with a verdict of guilty on all counts against Columbia University, past Columbia University President Michael Sovereign, and Barry Soetoro, also better known as Barack Hussein Obama. The deliberations and verdict of this trial were used as some of the evidence for 38 different state citizens' de jure grand juries, the two true bill presentments of which were also reported to have been served on the Joint Chiefs of Staff in June of 2010. Let us not forget the history lesson from the Nuremberg trials in Germany at the end of World War II, so that none can say, I did not know, so that none can say, I was just following orders. Now, for those of you who might argue that there was no defense at this trial, we would say that failure to appear is admission of guilt. And for those who would argue that this was an illegitimate kangaroo court, we would say that those courts and courts martials that have been telling we the people that we have no standing under our Constitution are the real kangaroo courts, and have abrogated their judicial responsibilities under our contract with them, the Constitution. When they fail to act, not to act is to act, Bonhoeffer said, then the duty to act reverts back to and remains with we, the people. So we are now entering the sentencing phase of that earth-shaking and historic trial of the millennium, a trial concerning the greatest fraud ever perpetrated upon the American people in the over 200 years since the inception of our constitutional republic. And that is the usurpation of the office of President and Commander-in-Chief by a publicly acknowledged non-natural born citizen. Under the terms of our Constitution, our nation can survive 4 or even 8 years of anyone as president, but it cannot survive without our Constitution. So what is following here is a summary of the transcripts of that trial, which will be available shortly, to include the charges, the evidence, the summation, and the verdict. And a short summarizing video by the prosecutor, Pastor James David Manning, will also be made available after his press conference at the church today, as well as the complete 400 plus pages of transcripts for those who want detailed proof of the crime of the millennium. I thank you.
Thank you, Captain Turner, for your presentation and also our education on the strength of the Constitution and the grand jury presentment and our right to do such even unto this very day. I'd like everyone to know that you can use our phone line of 646-845-9707 to call in if you have questions for the Q&A period. And I would like for Captain Turner to stay on the line, if you will. There may be questions directed at you that you would be able to respond to much better than I could do so.
I'll be happy to.
Let's open the phone lines to see if there are any questions that anyone would have regarding any of the statements made thus far at this press conference. Excuse me? Yeah, the number is 646-845-9707, and it should be there at the right hand of the our page of the Manning report. Well, either we did a perfect job of explaining ourselves, so we certainly had a large number of people online waiting minutes before we opened up with our statements, or there just aren't any questions. And if that is indeed the case, if there aren't any questions at present, let's take a break. Captain Turner, thank you, sir, very much for your participation. And we're going to take a break. Do the news that we could have done at the top of the hour. All right, do we have a question?
Yes, I do. Great presentation. I love it. I wanted you to repeat the what you said about Obama in Afghanistan as a CIA operative. That sort of flew by me, and I just wanted to understand. And did he do illegal things at that time as well?
What was stated was the trial was not just a birther issue, as many would assume that it was about the birth certificate, since that has been the item that has gotten most attention about him. While we did include that, it was about the fact that he did not attend Columbia University, that he was co-opted by the CIA, and all of this information is contained in the transcript, that they employed him because of his Islamic background, his ability to speak an Islamic language, not the language of Adora, which is spoken there in the Pakistan Pushtun region, but he understood the culture and the smells of Islam. And unlike any white Anglo-Saxon CIA agent up in that region who would stick out like a sore thumb, Obama was young and perfect, idealistic, and worked very well. And so there was not a crime committed by him participating with the CIA, if you consider they're under some sort of a mandate where they can run drugs and sell arms, as with the Sandinistas and Colonel North and the Reagan administration. But having said that, I was concerned when the information was brought to me about Obama's involvement with the CIA and the Afghan, Russian, Soviet invasion, that it would make him look like a hero. The crimes occurred when, after returning and running for presidency and even for the state senate, he never revealed any of this, but more specifically, he did not attend Columbia University, and Columbia University cannot issue a degree or an instrument conferring a degree to someone who did not follow the procedures mandated by New York State Regents Department and, of course, Columbia's Middlesex Schools, under which gives him the authority to issue degrees. That was criminal, and that was what he was convicted on.
Why is the CIA allowing him to continue in this capacity where he's destroying our country?
That is a question I cannot answer, except for the fact that they were complicit with him and in the process, and perhaps never thought that he would have wanted to hold the office he's now holding, albeit illegally. I can also say, why did Harvard University allow him to enter that school after not having fully qualified at Columbia? I mean, you have to make the dean's list, and we researched all of the records at Columbia. No one goes to Harvard Law School, the most difficult law school on the planet, without having made dean's list, even with affirmative action being a booster. They allowed him. So the complicity has gone on for quite some time. And right now they are invested in him, and I would suspect because of his race. They thought he could do a healing of America, pretty much like he was able to aid the Mujahideens, who ultimately developed the Taliban, who ultimately took the leadership of Afghanistan after the Soviet invasion. So, but I can't be absolutely clear about why they are allowing this.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll get back to the program. Great, great program.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have another caller? All right. I think we had another caller. Another question. You can call back if you choose to do so. We'll give you a few moments to chime in again if that's what you'd like to do. All right, let's take the next call. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hi there, Pastor Manning. This is Noreen from Massachusetts.
Hi, Noreen. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And I would like to ask a question to the gentleman you were just speaking of, Lieutenant Commander Walter Fitzpatrick III.
Right.
And is there any way we can, how do we get in touch with this gentleman to keep informed? I want to get this around.
Well, Captain Turner, could you address that matter, please?
Could you pose the question again? Because
the question was, how do we continue to be informed about what has happened to Lieutenant Colonel Walter Fitzpatrick, and how can we help spread the news about his vicious and criminal arrest, and what can we do to help?
Well, the one who seems to be most